All right. We'll call the select board session to order. Bill, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business is to approve minutes from the November 13th non-public work session and regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. November 15th, non-public meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Oops, sorry.
Second by Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. November 21st, 2017, non-public meeting minutes.
I move that we accept those as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Announcements. The select board will meet on the following dates. Regular meeting 6 p.m. Monday, December 11th and December 26th. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. Tentative work session December 4th and December 18th as needed. All the above meetings will be held in the town hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. New members are needed to fill the zoning board and planning board. If interested, please submit a letter of intent to the Plymouth Selectboard's office, 6 Post Office Square, Plymouth, New Hampshire, 03264. If the public recalls, at the last select board meeting, members of the water district were here and stated we sent a nasty letter to them. And I want to reread the letter that was sent to the water district. We, the Board of Selectmen, have been made aware of a memorandum of agreement between Northern Pass and Plymouth Village Water and Sewer on their mutual interests to bury a transmission line above existing utilities on Main Street. If approved, this agreement will greatly affect the town and Plymouth State University, according to journalist Gary Reno from the In-Depth New Hampshire. 20 parking spaces will be temporarily removed on Main Street until construction is complete. Plymouth State University will also be affected by construction which overlaps the beginning and end of the academic year. Student access to nearby merchants is very important to the town. Their support feeds the economic success of business on Main Street. This agreement raises other concerns regarding travel. Northern Pass has established temporary alternate routes for travelers, routes that may involve the use of local roads. This will affect commuters who travel on Interstate 93 and may direct traffic into residential neighborhoods. We, the Board of Selectmen, wish to tell you, the people of Plymouth, that we have listened. You have voiced your concerns on Northern Pass, and we've followed your direction. It is unfortunate that the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer Commissioners are supportive of Northern Pass. The Board of Selectmen is not associated with Plymouth Water and Sewer, though we sometimes have strong influence on one another's mission. Our mission has always been and always will be to assist you, Plymouth residents, in attaining and maintaining a high standard of your quality of life. The Board of Selectmen in no way supports Northern Pass or the memorandum of agreement between it and the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, as it does not embrace our mission. We, the Board of Selectmen, recommend that you write your concerns directly to the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer at 227 Old Main Street, Plymouth, New Hampshire. This was the letter that was read and written, and I do not feel that this comes under the heading of a nasty letter. It was an informational letter to the town of Plymouth, and we stand by these comments. Since then, we've had some work that was going on, and I'm sure the citizens are aware, on Foster Street. And we got a letter addressed to Joe, our Highway Department Superintendent. The Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District has replaced critical water and sewer pipes in Foster Street as part of a project that has been coordinated with the town and New Hampshire DOT since January the 10th, 2017. During the initial planning stages, the district has included you in meetings to understand the town and New Hampshire DOT requirement for pavement restoration. The district and Wright Pierce engineers proposed a method of trench patching 2.5 feet of pavement on all sections of roadway that have been excavated and a 1.5-inch overlay of the entire roadway to the New Hampshire DOT limits of paving. The proposal was clearly illustrated on a plan set that was reviewed by you during the meetings. The district received no comment from the town in regard to the pavement restoration until 3 weeks ago on October 24th, 2017, when incidentally you have provided a proposal for a catch basin and culvert to drain a low area of roadway adjacent to the district sewer pump station number 2. At that time, Wright Pierce and I provided a verbal summary of the pavement restoration efforts and asked for input in regards to roadway width due to inconsistencies throughout the alignment. You determined that the roadway shall be 20 feet wide throughout the project area, and we concur. At this time, you also verbally requested that the district's proposed pavement restoration be a complete road rebuild, including replacement of the existing unexcavated pavement. The complete roadway rebuild restoration request is not part of our construction contract with RM Piper, Inc., nor is it in the district's project budget. The district will move forward as planned with the 2.5-inch trench patch on Foster Street and will complete a 1.5-inch overlay of the entire roadway to the New Hampshire DOT limits of paving in the spring of 2018. This work will be subject to a 1-year warranty period per the contract. In the event it does not meet contract specifications within the 1-year period, it will be excavated and replaced in kind at the expense of the district contractor, RM Piper. In the future, I would suggest that you, too, provide the district with a written roadway and pavement restoration specification and standards to include in our project bid document that clearly illustrates the town's roadway and pavement restoration requirement. Also, I ask that you please submit comments in writing to the district and Wright Pierce if there is any discrepancy or concern with our project pavement restoration proposal. The district finds it imperative that the town coordinates roadway and pavement restoration efforts in conjunction with water and sewer replacement projects in the future, and that a clear line of communication can be had. Joe, I think you and Jeremiah were going to come up and talk on this.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just for the record, the board has not talked to Joe and Jeremiah about this yet.
Right.
This letter was also CC'd to yourself and myself, to which I asked Joe and Jeremiah to come tonight, so that they could clarify.
Right. There was a CC to myself, Paul Freitas, and Chris Berg with Wright Pierce, and it was, again, addressed to Joe. And your comments on this letter, Joe? And
a lot of it's not accurate.
excuse me just 1 minute. When I received this letter, I also did send a reply to this requesting minutes of any meetings that substantiated the items that were written in this letter. Go ahead, Joe.
That'd be
I'm sorry.
great, because Because a lot of that doesn't seem to match up. Because this Foster Street project's been an ongoing for several years now. And it just finally got off the, got off onto a, get started here this summer, but I was only brought on within the last year, if that. So the meetings that I went to were only like maybe 3 or 4 meetings. And we talked more about the intersection part of it with the state, how it interacts with Route 3. So when it comes to water and sewers project, there might have been an overview of the whole thing, but as far as a breakdown of how they laid it out here, I would have never agreed to that because it doesn't even meet our standards. We have trench permitting that you get, and it just doesn't even match up to what our standards are. So, and then after I got the layout, they sent a copy of their whole plans to everybody. So Myra and I got the plans and we're looking over their work, and it stated how they were gonna do a trench patch. And so I approached Jason and I told him, hey, that's not gonna work. He goes, all right, well, I'll look into it. So 3 different times before they paved. So the course of when they started their section of it, up until the day they paved, he led me to believe that they were gonna change that and make it work. And so he just misled me the whole way. Bill?
Well, so I see pictures, I guess, of the trench patch, and looks like
Yeah,
most of
that
the
middle
road was
section's what's
yeah.
left of our real road.
right.
I have some comments on that as well. I mean, not only did we had several conversations with them where they showed us a plan that showed half of the road, and not even in the entire length, but one half it was gonna be repaved. We had those at least three candid conversations regarding that was not gonna be acceptable. So for them to say that we never had a conversation about that prior is not correct. In addition to that, the plan that they're saying showed this that we agreed to, which we never agreed to. In addition to that one half of the road, the one lane that they also did service lines connecting through the other half of the road. So I mean, it's not even a single lane that's been damaged at this point. They've cut through the other one in 3 to 4 different places. This letter, I find it kind of offensive because there's a lot of things in here that's just not true. 2 years ago, we had a lot of resident concerns with our roads and patches that have been done in the past due to water breaks and failures, emergency repairs. We understand all that, and we approach them saying a lot of these patches have settled. The asphalt cars are banging through them. They're not done properly. We'd like you to revisit those, at which time we were told they only warranty those. They only are responsible for the maintenance of those for a year. So that's when we approached them and said, listen, we don't have any documentation of when these repairs were done. We understand that you need to repair these, but our road needs to be replaced. And we presented them with a copy of our trench permit application, which clearly shows if you dig over a certain size hole in the road, it needs to be repaved, curb to curb, a certain size saw cut beyond the limits of the actual repair. And we explained to them, you're not exempt from these standards. These are standards for everyone, for every contractor, every resident of town. Everybody's responsible for it. And we told them, in the event of an emergency, you have a water line break in the middle of the night, yes, you're gonna dig it up, you're gonna repair it, stop the leak, but you need to come to us and fill out a trench permit, the very next day. So we have documentation of when that happened, when that was repaired, and that way we can hold them to the standards of everyone else. That 1 year, it needs to be warranted for, and we need to have documentation when it happened, why it happened, and what was done to fix it, so that we can make sure they stand behind the repairs in those. So for them to say that they don't have a copy of our
Policy.
our policy, our asphalt requirements, our restoration is absolutely not correct. That was at least 2 summers ago, we had that whole conversation with them about that. So that's right there, they have a copy of our standards and our requirements, and that clearly states if you're gonna dig more than, I don't have the permit in front of me, but so many feet along the road, that it needs to be repaved curb to curb, and that alleviates the problem of all the little short patches that settle your car bangs through. We had some on Highland Street, some on Russell Street that have been common problems that we've been asked to address. And it's actually failures that they had that they patched, and the patches just haven't held up. So there's just a lot of things here that doesn't make sense. It's this project on Foster Street is just a prime example of that. That's just absolutely unacceptable. That road's not gonna hold up the way it is. There's a lot of things at stake here for that road that now is gonna fall on the residents to pay for. I mean, they've dug a trench 5-6 feet deep on one side of the road and nothing on the other. They haven't replaced materials in kind, they've patch paved it. A year, 2, 3 years down the road, you're gonna have differential heaving with frost because of unlike materials and everything. I mean, for them to just put a overlay over what's there is frosting a cake. It's gonna last for a little while, but it's not gonna be the proper structural road it should be. It's not gonna last longevity like it should if it were to be completely removed, repaved and graded and put back the way it was prior to this project.
And they have yet to comply with, when they dig in the roadway, come to us for these permits. You know, when we had that confrontation with them, they have yet to come to us for a permit. They just keep digging without even coming to us and getting permits. And like this whole project, to me, I would think it would be up to, the architect to have done his homework and follow our standards. For them to set their own standards and then tell us that we were part of that, I would have never agreed to that. The town has their own standards, so why would we do a mock-up job?
Well,
Just for more clarification, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I started this with the state process 7 years ago, and it was only for the realignment of the Foster Street intersection with exit 26, the off-ramp. Foster Street was not part of the town and the state's negotiations. Foster Street was an add-on project, but not not the municipality, not the town's municipality. Water and sewer added in on for the right reasons, economy of scale. All that equipment's there, take advantage of it, get it done much cheaper. But we weren't planning on touching that section of Forster Street, the town road. So we've had a town road dug up that we weren't planning on digging up, and it wasn't part of our initial plan, never was part of the plan.
When they came to us and told us early this spring that they were gonna do their water and sewer project, when they finally committed to doing that along with the alignment project at the end, we actually had a conversation with them on site with Jason regarding initially they weren't sure if they were gonna work the entire length of the road. First they were talking about stopping prior to the corner, and that's just another point to this conversation with them, is that we said, if you're not gonna finish that last section to where the realignment project ends and the project in between, if we're gonna be left with a short section, when you repave, we wanna be on board to have a conversation and try to set up so that we can repave our section that wasn't going to initially be disturbed in the middle, because we don't wanna have a road that's three separate sections of asphalt. We wanna, see if we can come up with the funds to make it one complete project. So that's just another conversation that we had with them regarding this being completely repaved and not left in different sections. I guess at this point, it's shame on us for not putting those conversations in writing, but we've worked with this department. It's our neighbors down to our shed. We had a conversation with him 3 or 4 times. We were assured he was gonna revisit with the engineer and that it would be taken care of. And we took that at face value, and I guess in the future, we need to be very specific with what we put in writing and make this very clear, document every conversation we have, so that there's no confusion or discretion later on.
Okay, do we have any other comments from any board member?
Just one more clarification. Within this section that was ours, there was water and sewer work done.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of the original agreement with the state. Every utility had something to do with that intersection, including the railroad. So they did have road work underneath infrastructure. So, and that was done and handled by DOT.
Okay.
Or at least overseen by DOT. That became a state, no, after we went to them, the state did take it over for us. That became a state project.
So there was, did I understand you to say there were no permits pulled?
Correct. For whatever reason, I didn't, when the state was involved and Piper and the three of them were together, I don't know if it was an oversight, but normally your contractor comes to my department and he asks for the permit, and we sign it and we go forward. But for this, for whatever reason, he didn't come to me for a permit, and it should have been really up to the engineer to supply all that stuff. And so I don't think this is clearly, I'm not saying it's all their fault, but it's certainly not all mine either. I mean, my standards certainly not the work that they produced. And I've never seen Piper do that kind of work. So he's just going by what was laid out for him for the contract.
So how could we prevent this in the future? I mean,
Well,
have the water district pull permits?
we rewrote a whole bunch of standards for our roads, the trench permitting and a whole bunch of other stuff, and we're gonna get together and have a meeting and sign it into legislation. And so from here out, everything that water sewer does is, they won't stick another bucket in the ground without a permit.
It's not really changing any of our standards. Our standards are the same,
Right.
but we need to make it very clear that they are not exempt from from requiring these permits, that they, as well as every other contractor, citizen, anyone is required to have any permits before digging in any town-owned right-of-way.
And we've communicated that to them from this time forward? or-
The other thing for me is because they haven't come to me for that permit, I mean, the job's not done either, so what's to say that I don't stop them and have them get that permit? So, I mean, there's a lot that could happen here, but I'm not looking to penalize people, I'm just looking for the quality of the work, and then this is a learning curve for us to make sure that that paperwork's done. And
because
time, we should get the short end because they do, insufficient work.
Yeah, this is just gonna cause aggravation for us, an expense, and also for
So
citizens driving
I
on
let them
it.
pave that only because we came into the winter months and the paving season is at an end. So, and I was told that they were gonna pave that with or without my permission, which it belongs to the town. And that was a contract they were very adamant about, they were gonna pave it no matter what.
who made that statement?
That was the engineer
Wright Pierce?
yeah.
Okay.
He said that Piper and R&D had intentions on that paving that no matter what, because they both had deadlines to meet and they were gonna get it done.
Should we, Mr. Chairman, should we have, invite the water and sewer to a meeting and, so that they know that those are the new rules going forward? And maybe show them these pictures that
There aren't really any.
it's kind of silly.
Right, not new
Our
rules.
excavation trench permit hasn't changed. It's not new.
Well, that,
I think
That-
we need to address this road with them further than just letting it go, because you know, they can write a letter saying that we saw the plan, that this was the plan. Well, all of those crosscuts are not in that initial plan. So that
They didn't stick to the
falls back on
plan.
our trench permit, that it still has to be paved in entirety. There's,
It's just
I
silly
think
that they
the
would
select
leave that
board
little
should-
strip in the middle.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous.
And then
It just goes
to
on.
see that, it's,
Yeah,
And
it
that's-
goes on and on. You can go down there and look at the patchwork.
we just feel like we should not accept this, that this should be replaced properly. This
could
is
we
just
invite them, Mr. Chairman, to our next meeting and ask them?
Yeah, but inviting them and asking them, what's the difference between that and holding them accountable?
Invite them to the meeting and hold them accountable?
I think, Paul, what do you suggest that we possibly go ahead and draft a letter holding them responsible and send that to them, and then once they receive that and they have opportunity,
Here's where I'm at with it. This has got to weather the winter, so it serves a purpose. So it's, if they hadn't paved it, they would have had to put gravel. So it wouldn't have worked for any of us, because they would have had to stay with it and babysit it all winter, and we have to plow it, so it would have been a mess altogether. So by paving it, at least it's can get used for the winter, and come springtime, they're supposed to overlay that, and they're supposed to coordinate that with the state. And I have to make a decision in the spring on the state section, whether or not I accept theirs, because they also paved with the weather. It was 32 degrees out when they paved, which is, again, not acceptable for our work
or for their standards.
or for their standards. And their comments to us was, it's your road, you can decide, you can make that decision. So it comes springtime, my decision on that work is to rip it up and put it down right. So you can play off of that, but that's my decision, is I'm not accepting that. But it can go through the winter, and so we have the winter to,
For all the cars to bottom out and stuff. The people live on that road.
And it did get to the point where Joe had to make a decision. When you're being told it's gonna be done that way anyway, we didn't want gravel out there, just that asphalt strip.
Exactly.
But we've gotta plow that road during the wintertime. We owe it to the people, like Brian just said. So having the trench patch is better than having gravel.
right.
But not only would have happened, and you see how minimum that width is going down the center, that would have all been reclaimed and gotten out of there. You would have been going curb to curb with your first course. Not your first course is all over the place. It's down one side, comes down the other side, it's keyed in and out wherever there's laterals. So what happens next year, if you leave it like that, in Joe's world, if you put your second course, your finished course on top of that, you have a potential of having all these seams. Wherever there's a jog, that could all crack and open up. It's New Hampshire, everything moves, so you try to get it to at least all move
Together.
together.
Yep.
And that's where the conversation with the state engineer stemmed from. He told us, that they needed to pave that. They knew the temperatures weren't great. It was snowing. It was too cold for asphalt, but it gets us by for the winter time. And that's why, they were working with us, telling us, listen, in the spring, if you're unhappy with it, we'll revisit it. We'll take care of it. We'll put it down according to their specs, which are greater than our specs. So that makes sense. And for them to have paved it the way they did to get through the winter, the project ran late to get it done for the winter, that's understandable. But to receive a letter saying that's it, and that they're just gonna overlay it, and that's their intentions, that's when it becomes a problem, that's just not.
And that was explained to highways, so DOT did do it properly. They had to close it up.
Yeah.
I think
No,
November
exactly.
22nd was gonna be the deadline for everybody,
Did
and
the same thing on Fairgrounds.
Piper Construction, that was gonna be the deadline. So they too didn't wanna leave gravel out there. So, but they did it with and it wasn't a caveat, it was with a promise that we'll be back in the spring, we'll do a
Take care of it.
core test on it, we'll dig it back up and do it curb to curb for the part that they're responsible for.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Joe?
if If you plan on having them to a meeting, that there's still some stuff that we should, you know, if you're gonna hold them accountable, whether we should get together and.
Well, we need to hold them accountable. And
I would,
So what we'll do.
in my world, I need to hold them accountable, because that's not
Exactly.
acceptable, but.
So, do you want to set up a meeting? You have our planning board schedule, so,
Right.
you know, if you want to set up a meeting and coordinate it between the two departments and let Josie know or Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, basically, this letter is still just sent to Joe and CC to us. So,
Mhm.
no, Joe has that kind of authority. He's highway superintendent. He can shut a job down.
Right,
I
right.
think he should communicate back in the letter that he received.
Okay.
You know, he just twisted things around and made it look good for himself, and then told me how to do the job that we already know how to do. You know, and
All right. Yeah.
And then if need be, then Joe can make the open invitation to come before the board.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
And Maya.
Announcements. Appointments.
Beg pardon?
Appointments.
Yeah. We have a letter from Bonnie Sears to a request to be a member of the planning board. She'd like to see more economic development on Tenny Mountain Highway because of its effect on the tax rate. So do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept her as a planning board member.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Bonnie, you have been appointed as a member of the planning board, and thank you for responding. And if there's anyone else out there that would like to join the zoning or planning board, please submit the letter, and we'd be more than glad to appoint you and have you help us out with the town. Okay, Chief LaFave.
What we have before you is
Yes.
a quick, it's a purchase order for two-way communications, and this is an upgrade for our server and our network at the police department. Towns are asking for certain things that we can't accommodate right now with the equipment we have. And one town has, I don't want to say threatened, but made the decision that if we can't provide this service for them, that they are going to take their dispatch services elsewhere. And that's a loss of about $34,000 in revenue for us. And this is a $12,845.30 one-time cost to upgrade. And that's $34,000 a year. So we'd be losing some significant revenue. So to me, this is kind of a no-brainer. This particular town is the first one to ask for it. I know it's coming. There are other towns that are also going to ask for it. So to me, this upgrade is definitely necessary.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
And we benefit from the upgrade too.
Yes, we absolutely benefit from the upgrade, yes.
Okay.
Does it bring more towns to our area, to our dispatch service, or
We
just keeping them?
the answer would be keeping them, yes. I'm telling everybody we're pretty much maxed out with the amount of towns. We dispatch for 10 towns now. And if we were to take on more towns, we would have to hire more personnel.
Right.
And right now that the math just doesn't,
Yeah.
it costs more money to hire another person than it does to bring, it would have to be a rather large town to be able to fill that void.
I remember you saying so.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
I move we approve the PO for $12,845 for a server and software, whatever that you're.
Yeah.
I second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Good luck.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
There's some unfinished business.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, that's non-public.
Right. Okay. David, did you?
I just had a quick comment.
Okay.
Studied your publication on the website about the tax increase, and I wondered if you had published what were the anticipated sources of revenue that didn't come to fruition.
It should be in there. That's it. I'll try to do it all. $500,000 Highland Street. We're gonna get $900 to $1.1 million for Highland Street. We have $500,000 in capital reserve, which we're gonna be able to take that $500,000 and put it towards the highway department's budget. So that's considered revenue. We're gonna get you to $900,000 short in revenue. We were promised that 2 years ago. It should have been 3 years ago. And we were definitely promised with the 10th year of their 10-year plan, which is the year that we're in. And during the summertime, we found out that they weren't going to give it to us, and they bumped us up to 2027. That's $500,000 there. We received $126,000, David, from the state highway block grant funds. We have been getting a little less each year for the last 4 years. Many people, many managers went down to Concord and tested that, and actually won. And during the winter time, we were told we were gonna get the 126, and the Department of Revenue makes you put that down as revenue. Town's gonna receive it. We do have a copy of electronic receiving of that money, but it came with conditions. Had we received it over the last 3 or 4 years, would have gone straight to the general fund like we do with the full check for the highway block grant. This one came with conditions saying we have to do something with it that we didn't already have planned in our budget. So now we have to go and purchase this for $126,000. Well, because I wasn't planning on doing that, it's no longer revenue. So 2 Fridays before the tax rate setting, they told us that we had to pull that 126 out of anticipated revenue. That's 626. Abatements, $200,000, gets us up to 826, and then $81,000 in this year that we're not going to get from Mid-State.
From whom?
Mid-State, I'm on board the point because they're now tax exempt, so we had that in for this year, and that's the 900.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
And we redid this so that there is a new one downstairs that.
Well, I got this tonight off the well. Not finding fault. I just
No,
wanted-
and some.
Right. No,
something
we
very
understand.
similar happened to the high school also.
Yeah.
They were anticipating 900 and something more $1,000 in revenue from the state. I think this
So the
was-
biggest problem is the state.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I say, yeah, Mike
They're
Halloran.
no longer getting into the town and school business anymore.
Feds aren't gonna give the money to the state, the state's not gonna give the money to the towns.
Exactly.
Town winds up picking up the slack.
Right. And like I say, Mark Halloran anticipated the state covering a $1.93 increase, and the state was not going to send any more money. So that was the increase and the reason for the school.
It was just kind of a shock on the tax bill.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I'm one of them. So, and
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Any other comments or? All right. We have a motion to go into non-public.
So moved. Under 91A, whatever.
RSA 93 dash
One A,
A,
yeah, A3,
colon
2,
3, comma
I.
2, A through I.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
On the website.